Good day, everyone. This is David Ellis. You're about to enter another dimension. It is a dimension of sight and sound. It is a dimension where, oh, just kidding. You're on the Talking Stick show. And on the set today, we have.
Actually,
No,
it's the new teaching show.
it's a new teacher
Not
show.
the talking stick.
Yes.
He flubbed it.
the intro. On set today, we have the Galactic historian, Andrew Bartzis. You guys know him, all right? To know him is to love him. Now, the next, we have Dale, who just went off set. He flubbed it as well. And there's a big space where his aura was. Right. Right. We have Dale Tobin. We have Laura Massey.
Hello, guys.
Two Feathers Medicine. And we also have Maty Waller from Two Feathers Medicine, the shaman of shamans. So, guys, today we have a topic that's going to affect everyone. Yep, the topic of today is how you, as a spiritual person, deal with your finances, psychic inflation. And we're going to be debunking some myths. So I'm going to let Andrew, you go ahead, start this stuff.
Psychic inflation. When the cost of your prayers do not pay back the benefits anymore.
That is
The
hilarious.
daily practice that you do does not give you the same value it did before, because the times have become denser and more requiring you for deeper disconnection, so those practices mean something. It also comes to a time where those practices pay back no dividends, because you've repeated them without any illumination for so long, there's no illumination left into them. And it's where variety must come back, but to experience that variety comes with a tax. The tax of the new experience and of what it takes to get your engine rolling in a new direction that does not go back to the monopolistic process of a single form of practice. And then there comes to the actual finances one has to be able to fund their daily life, to buy toilet paper, to have money to take a class, or to not have any of that available because the inflation of the world, the cost of the world has increased so much that whatever it is that you have saved is net negative every month, which begins to create depression, obsession, regression in so many spiritual people because they have a terrible relationship with money to begin with.
That's correct. Now, today we're going to be delving into some myths and breaking some myths as well. A lot of you operate on a few fallacies in thinking, such as, I'm spiritual, therefore I should be poor. And it's running in the back of your mind it's in the back of your mind running. Like, I'm spiritual, I should be poor and I should be pious and stuff like that. And that is some very false programming, which is never going to suit you very well. Right now, everyone on this panel here has seen some kind of hard times. So when we speak to you, we're not speaking to you from the position of, oh, they're the spiritual guys talking to you about stuff. We're speaking to you from the position of, we've been there, we know what it is, and we know the programs that run. Maddie, talk to these people and tell these people about what real life is about.
In which way? Money or the other way?
Both.
Both.
Well, there are so many people in the spiritual community who see everything as a threat. So anything that's not spiritual is a threat to spirituality, or it's juxtaposed to spirituality, or even worse, it's working against spirituality. And I've been through this to a certain extent, but not as much as I've seen other people. I've seen people who live lives like they'll busk on the streets, live in a van, and live their life like that, living out of a van, just miserable, and they see themselves as so victorious within their own mind and within their own universe, because they're sticking it to the system where really you're just living a half life. I mean, maybe even less than a half life, to be honest, because you separate yourself from people, places, and situations just because they may aspire to other things that you don't aspire to.
Yeah,
So
they become spiritual hobos.
Exactly, and it's as limited as you could possibly be in forms of experience.
Yeah.
There's
And-
a degree of martyring about that as well.
Correct.
It's
That you have
saturated
to
in
martyr
martyrism.
yourself to the spirituality cause, And I think I went through that very much as a light worker. It's like, no, I shouldn't charge for this. I should be giving it for free. And yet I was investing heavily in getting myself equipped and trained and stepping up and doing the work. But not enough work at that time that I realised you really should be charging for your services, just like out there in the non-spiritual world.
Yeah, that's an excellent point that Laura brought up, actually, because I think a lot of people, they also operate on the imposter syndrome. And the imposter syndrome is that I need to get 1 million certifications before I start a basic practice. When starting the practice would have actually given them the experience, because it's not about what you have on hanging on your wall, it's about what you can do. And so a lot of them stick in this imposter syndrome, and they don't charge for money because they feel in and of themselves that they're not worth that. And that is something that defeats a lot of them.
In conjunction with imposter syndrome is the YouTube PhD syndrome, where they think they become know-it-alls. I know I did do that one on you every time, David. I did perfect timing. They have YouTube PhDs and they become know-it-alls in a one little thing, but when you actually put them into a practice setting, they know nothing. Know nothing. And there's so many people out there who are addicted to curiosity learning. And I've reiterated this in thousands and thousands of times. Curiosity learning is not real learning. It's surface learning. And unfortunately, so many of the light workers who demand everything for free is because they're addicted to curiosity learning, addicted to having their 19 PhDs from YouTube.
And it's no good having all that knowledge unless, as Andrew teaches, you take the action to turn that into known wisdom, into wisdom that you've learnt from actually putting the practices out there yourself.
So many people have things they've learned, disciplines, courses, this, that, but they don't actually then have a practice, and they wonder why they're not evolving. They're trying to hoard all of this different things under their belt, and but unless you throw it into an already established practice, it's nothing. It's not going to work for you. It just becomes dead.
I think most of them miss the part where even money and stuff like that is a kind of energy. The exchange specifically is energy. And so when you are delivering energy to somebody, which is why in most Reiki courses they tell you got to charge for your services, because you're giving of yourself, you are giving a particular skill, and the reciprocity is important. So how important is reciprocity? That's the next issue. Right. It's very important.
So, David, remember when I reintroduced you to the community here after you were coming out of your long slumber, and I told you how ignorant many of the people in the spiritual community are to business, and you didn't believe it until you went on a show?
Oh, yeah. That was a few years back. I was in a sleeping state, and I ran into this man, unfortunately, because then he's like, oh, you need to get back into stuff, right? And then he told me about that first webinar we did on business and the response that we got, right? And I think it's about time we give people a few tips about how they can break this cycle of poverty that they're in. And when I say poverty, I don't mean it in a financial sense. You're poor in mind as well, right? Because that's where it starts. When your outlook is...
That's that lack consciousness. They operate from lack, and their whole consciousness is in lack.
Yes. Where does that myth come from? This myth of the poor. Is it from all those Eastern stories about like sannyasis who go up into the hills and give up all their worldly possessions?
Yeah, and Buddha, Siddhartha Gautama and all that. Yeah, and the aesthetic Buddhists.
Some of it, most of it came from the late 70s hippies, actually.
Yeah.
Okay? That's how it was applied to our modern culture, where everything should be for free. That's the late 70s and early 80s founding light workers, post-harmonic convergence.
Yes, but how many failed communes have...
All of them. They all failed.
How many communes have to fail for you to understand that this is probably not the way that it works? Because here's the thing about a commune. You get a commune together. We have a piece of land, okay? And we're going to like plant stuff on the land, and we're going to live off the land. And we're vegan, so it doesn't matter because we're eating carrots every day. Okay. Here's the problem with that. You know, as Andrew alluded to earlier on, like toilet paper, it's going up. It's going up, man. Okay? Right? Little things like that. They never think in terms of that. And a lot of people in the spiritual community, they shun business instruction specifically because they think that it teaches them to think in terms of greed. Okay? No. Most business instruction at its heart is teaching you to think in terms of survival. Okay? Not greed. But
can I just say, so I teach psychic surgery and I've taught angelic Reiki before, and I'd say probably about the people who I teach to practitioner level, I'd say not many of them actually become successful and go on and actually earn money. And this is something I see so often, and a lot of people don't understand of how important the marketing aspect to spirituality is, and actually doing the graft, doing the grind, being able to post, do your shows and so on. And I see it all the time, and I always go back to it. You need to do a marketing course to advance, but a lot of these people do these modalities or learn shamanism or whatever it is. They become a practitioner and they devalue themselves, and they don't actually look into how much their bills are compared to how much they earn. And I remember I went through that process once where I was charging fuck all, and I looked at how much my bills were and how much I was making, and I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? And a lot of people are just full balls in, just going in saying I'm charging £33 a session, but my bills are like 400 quid for my gas and electric. So I see it time and time again.
so guys, how deep y'all want to take this show? Is this going to be a full kick in the ass? Get your shit together show?
Yeah, like right into the tailbone with a heel kick.
All right, we're good. I'm up for it.
Yeah, exactly. I want to add something. What Dale said was very important. They almost never look at the money they're bringing in to the money that's going out. And the thing is, when you lower and lower your prices, you devalue yourself, and it means you have to do more volume to make up. This industry does not work by more volume. It's quality of work.
That is true. And here's the thing. A lot of people who are very good practitioners, and I want to talk to you guys about all these things, because this is going to be one of these shows where we give you the tips and tricks for free. You can decide what you're going to do with it, because trust me, I came loaded with ideas about your businesses, right? So a lot of people are outperformed financially and in the market by people with a lot less skills, but a lot of business sense, okay? So let's say you're teaching psychic surgery, as an example, Dale. I set up shop next to you. I'm teaching psychic surgery, and I'm going to make it into a religion with tithes and so on, right? And you're going to wonder why your business is suffering as a result of it, because you're going to wonder, like, why are these people going over there? I mean, I'm really good at what I do. My heart is in it and so on. You want to know why? Because the guy across the road, his heart may not be in it, right? But he understands the needs of the customer. And a lot of people are not client focused. They're usually themselves and all their programs focused. Okay,
and that's it.
And you gotta give people what they want. Goes through the business.
That's it. A lot of people go into a business or set up as a practitioner, and like Andrew said many times, it's important that you have your own niche. And how are you going to sell yourself compared to everybody else? But not in a kind of aggression competition way, but just allowing your uniqueness of yourself to come through and what you do and what you can produce different to everyone else. And that's something I've learned is, and going back to what Andrew said about lack consciousness, I've experienced that myself, and it's something I've done a lot of inner work on, having to put my price up. And once I did put my price up, I had more clients than I've ever had before. And that was just something showing.
Dale, tell them about the grocery store experience we went through.
So as I was speaking to Andrew for over an hour in the car about my lack consciousness and some of the things I was dealing with, Andrew recommended me to go into the grocery store and just be aware of the programs, what get switched on. And as I went in, I could see my own shit like coming on, thinking about the price of everything. Then I looked left and right and I could see everyone in program mode just like affected by the prices on money. And it's like you go in and everyone's fucking robots in the supermarket. And every time I go in, I just look around and laugh and think, remind myself.
It was a great teacher about lack, wasn't it? Going into that grocery store.
Incredible. And some of the lack I've had in the past. So my story was back in 2012, 2013, I set up as a Reiki teacher. I had my first session with Andrew. And I remember Andrew saying to me at one point in time, there'll come where you've got enough money to make decent money and a career off this. And I remember thinking, what are you on about? I was like, I didn't believe myself. I was like, right, I've got my full-time job in the background, my spiritual work and so on. And it got to the point of, like Andrew said, the repetition with illumination, the inner work. When I finally started to fucking enjoy it, everything changed. And yeah, I had to do a lot of back work on the lack of my past. So I've gone through, and I actually did some today as well. So I've gone through from 2013 to 2023 and removing lack as a choice of my past. So I've done a lot of inner work, and I've realized how much lack affected me in 2013. Bills were coming in left, right and center. I wasn't making enough money. I didn't value myself. So a huge lesson for me, that Andrew, about that lack consciousness teaching.
And then what happened, Dale, about buying the sunglasses?
Oh god.
Yeah, the
sunglasses. So yeah, I bought a pair of shades, and after I did all the work, the first amount of work on it, I bought a pair of shades, got in the car, and I looked around and I couldn't find the shades again. And then my programs were going to kick in about, I've spent this much amount of money, and I went, you know what, fuck you, I'm going to go buy another pair of shades. So it was a huge spiritual lesson for me, that.
Especially as you found the first pair.
Yes, it was. So I had two shades, two shades. And there was actually a time, which I'll just say on the show, was at one point when I was doing my work in the float tanks. I really enjoyed doing a lot of stuff in the float tanks. There was one point where I saw one of my programs come out and shut the back door. It like came out of me, ran and shut the door. And it was the funniest thing ever. Like, I was literally had a smile on after, and yeah, incredible stuff.
So David, budgeting for a spiritual person.
Oh, right.
Why does that become so hard for them to even do?
Well, here's the thing. When you are talking about budgeting, you're talking about a situation where you have a certain amount of money that you are going to disperse for certain levels of priority. The problem with a lot of spiritual people is a problem of priority, okay? And so they generally tend to think that the first thing that comes first is my spiritual work. So I know that I'm going to spend like $40 on incense. I'm sorry. Right?
Next Shamba.
Right? I know I'm going to spend $40 on incense this week. Right? So you budget that and so on. Priority. The priority might be, when you are a business person, especially if you're a light worker or a therapist or whatever you're doing in spirituality, your priority should be, what takes me to the next step of my survival and thriving. Survive and thrive. So anything that you spend money on, spend it on the thing that will make you more effective in the market. So as an example, these guys here on the panel, you'll notice that they all have Yetis. Priorities! Because they intend to deliver a good show to you guys to market themselves. Okay? So I have my Yeti. I've had my Yeti. Andrew has his whatever. I'm sure you have a Yeti on that desk. And everybody has a Yeti microphone that is speaking up from the bottom of the screens. And I'm like, so they spent money to improve the quality of what they're bringing to you, right? Because they don't intend to bring to you a half-assed product at any point in time. And I've known these guys for a couple of, I've met recently, right? But I know Laura, I know Andrew, and it's always about Kaizen. It's always this a Japanese concept, continuous improvement. But there's always improvement geared at moving to the next step, right? And that is what your priority should be. Survive first, thrive, and then you could buy incense later. Because a lot of them get it twisted, right? But the incense is part of my survival, right? My spiritual survival. And I'm like, yeah.
But you'll have some more empowered prayers. You'll have some more empowered ceremonies. You'll have some more empowered situations in which to use that incense where it actually comes back and makes a difference to you. That's what people don't understand, is that these things come hand in hand. So the more you do your own personal practice, the better you get at whatever craft it is that you do. So, they come hand in hand. You can't wait to become a practitioner or be a practitioner, then wait. It all comes together. And you have to put 100% effort into all of it.
But you've got to have a balance.
Andrew and I have a few stories to tell you guys, because we've been through a lot. Sorry about that, Laura, right? But we have a few stories. Laura, go ahead.
I was just going to say, you've got to have a balanced life, and getting yourself out of survival is one, and one of the others alongside, as Maty was saying, is the self-care and the self-nurturing. And Dale mentioned he goes for the floats. A variety of things like that should be featured in your self-care practices as alongside. It's not just about going out and doing all the spiritual work, because unless you're balanced mind, body and soul, you're not going to deliver a decent product either.
Yep.
And that leads us to spiritual bank accounts as well. And this is something that Sandra explained years ago, and it makes perfect sense. Is I find a lot of people in their practice, they have a sense of insincerity, or whatever the word is, at the beginning of their practice. They don't feel like they're being sincere and that they're getting anything back from it. And that's because, like with a physical bank account, you've gone into the red, and you need to get yourself up into the green, into the amber and green zones before you start to feel the benefits of it. It's exactly the same thing as money. You can't do anything if you're in debt. That's a fact. You're just living in that debt, and it's the same spirituality as it is for finance.
What about the people who always struggle to have a job when they don't earn enough money in spirituality, and they don't have they can't stand it, so their ego always keeps going and they're not making any money, but they're too scared or embarrassed to get an actual job?
Because they reach the levels of empathy. They reach those levels of empathy where they can't go beyond it. And so everywhere they go, they're swimming in everybody's energy because they haven't learned the greater processes of self-protection and self-empowerment.
And then there's the lack of hustle. If you think you could just all of a sudden, the spirit will line up 1,000 clients, you're deluded. You have to hustle for every single one. But a while ago, I created those word hustle muscle. Go ahead, David.
Andrew, but Jupiter was totally in alignment. I have to wait for the next 2 years for Jupiter to align to get shit done, right? And that is just fair. Listen, I don't wanna. We have had experience. I have had experience. Andrew, you know who I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, I do.
Individual we were doing business with. We needed to make decisions, and that individual had to consult the astrologist before making a decision. Now,
every decision.
Every decision. So now, I remember losing my shit. I did. I'd say, listen, if Mercury is in retrograde, drag that bitch into alignment. Okay? Okay?
David,
drag it out.
I had
right, and I'm not putting down any astrologists. I know that some of you are very into astrology, but let me explain something to you. You cannot, when it comes to business, decide that you are going to make every decision based on what the planets tell you, and I'll tell you why that's a bad idea. Because time is running. Right, and nobody is going to wait for you to make these decisions, and it's very infuriating to your business partners. Can you imagine? You invite me on the show, you guys invite me on the show, right? And I said, hold on, I just need to consult my astrologist, so I got to go check the planets and so on. Oh yes, it's around that time. We should totally jump on. Listen,
right. and astrology is a terrible marketing system.
Yeah, for sure. Actually, it can be a good marketing system. My twisted mind has already come up with the right. The planets
I call it a terrible marketing system for a reason, because there's so many opportunities missed when you aren't feeling the pulse of everyone else and what they want from your creation.
However, if I put on my website and say the planets have aligned and they have told me that it's time for you to become my client. Boom.
Exactly.
Well, there's a huge population that'll just go click next. Okay.
Yeah.
I actually had an experience that it was on one of the psychic surgery trainings last summer, face to face. There was a lady who came on and she paid for everything. The night before, she sent me a message, and it was a long message, basically saying because of how the astrology was lined up, she may change her mind tonight and go on holiday instead. And she confirmed it was literally the day before the workshop. It was a 4-day workshop, and she sent me a long page of the planets and all about it and so on. She goes, I feel like me going on holiday might be a better idea. And I was just like, for fuck's sake.
That's where a limitation becomes a complete self-defeating habit pattern.
And David, I think that's a good segue to use that language Maty just said, how astrology can become a limiting journey to growing a business. And not just astrology, card reading, all of those things can become absolutely limiting to the business intuition people need to earn.
Listen, divination, which is what all of these things fall under, was meant as an advisory tool for the future. It wasn't meant as an advisory tool for the present. So if you try to decide whether you should go out on a date with a man based on his configuration of what house or where he was born in, please give it a rest. Okay, it's a configuration tool. It's an advisory tool. So let me explain to you. In business, you can absolutely use astrology to a certain extent. A certain extent, it's advisory. It's advisory. Even in the old days, the Wittans of England, the Druids of England, they advised. They didn't dictate policy, but a lot of people get it twisted. And they get it twisted, and it validates some of the fear that they have because they lack courage. Okay? And I keep telling everybody whenever I'm called to speak on shows, you're not a magician. You are not a wizard. You are not a witch. You're not any of these things unless you have manifested something. Does that make sense to you guys? That seems simple, right? You're not that person don't be that thing if you aren't that thing. Okay? Don't say that you're that thing if you're not that thing. And part of
people can't help themselves, David.
Really?
We want the shortcut.
Oh, yeah. They want the shortcut.
The shortcut, right? So you say you are that thing, but you don't manifest. You live in a state of lack. Okay? Because all of these things, they come with a certain amount of skill sets. You see, spirituality is not about the say, it's about the do. And a lot of people get caught up with that stuff. It's not about the say. So a lot of people take on the veneer of spirituality, right? When I was teaching yoga, I would show up in a pair of track pants, right? The stretchy pants, right? A gi bottom, actually, to be quite honest with you, right? And a t-shirt, okay? I said to my students, you have to be the thing. You can't pretend the thing. And people become your authenticity is what Dale alluded to earlier on. Your authenticity is what sells the product. You see Andrew right now. I could have put a little. We could put a little turban on your head, Andrew. I mean, you got the wig, you got the mug, right? Put a little turban on your head, put you in some flowing white robes, and call you like I don't know.
I would be Baba Rum Dum.
Baba
Right.
Rundum, yeah, that's perfect.
Right. We could put some white robes on you, right?
Yep.
But that is not authentic. That's not who you are. And so when you are marketing yourself out there and you have to put on a facade, it will get stripped off eventually. Okay? When you come out dressed like whatever you're dressed as, right? The reason why I'm on the show with these guys is all these guys are authentic, right? Look at how Dale showed up. Like, come on, really? Like, the tattoo showing, right? Right? You know, these guys are
This has
authentic.
shrunk about
Poncho,
50 times
Dale.
this t-shirt.
Spirituality is not about the say, it's about the do. What are you capable of? And so at the end of the day, the fear that you feel in putting yourself out there, a lot of people do not want to be seen. They don't want to be seen. They want to hide in little corners of the internet, right? Where they won't run up against opposition, where people They want to hide. And I understand that the world is a scary place, but you got to put yourself out there if it is that you're going to operate and survive, right?
Well, that's where
And
you
you got
need
to
to do
develop
the
a
inner.
thick skin.
Sorry, David. That's where you need to do the inner work alongside what you're
Correct.
doing. I mean, all the work I do and have done, I still continue to do, even though I was able to launch Two Feathers Medicine. I still continue to do the work. It's a continual process, isn't it?
I remember when you were starting this to Feathers Medicine. Yeah. And we were like, yeah, Laura, it's about that time. We don't want to see your face at another retreat. It's about that time. Let's get it. Let's get shit done. And and that was the best decision you ever made, because now everybody can see your light, which
Right.
may be a good and a bad thing.
Well, I came
Everybody
on.
can see.
Thank you. David did you and Nikki did a business strategy course, didn't you? Something like that a few of us
Yes.
came on about 18 months ago. And I was one of those, I didn't really want to show my face. And Andrew taught us a long time ago, get comfortable with videoing yourselves talking.
Yeah.
And it took me ages to do that. And then doing Earth Nouveau with Martina and Mary and so on started to sort of get my confidence going. But you do have to work on the self-esteem issues and all the other issues, as all you guys will know in the beginning.
And the personal issues, those inner demons, all of those glaringly obvious things that are right in your face that you just cannot take with you into a new adventure.
Oh, and arguing for your limitations, that's a big one,
Exactly.
isn't it? I haven't got
Exactly.
the equipment, I haven't got the right situation to do it in, I've got to go out that night. There is a commitment to it.
There is.
Yeah.
I've got to take a shit at 7 p.m. Therefore, I can't do anything the night before.
No, that's only if the planets align. If the planets don't align, I'm not taking that shit. You see.
No. But I do teach sovereignty.
So
Look.
Ellen had a great statement. Lots of teachers don't want their students to graduate. Yeah.
Yeah.
What happens when a student graduates?
Competition.
No, they don't
No.
pay you anymore.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
That's why the motto I have is you graduate when you want to. You determine your level of difficulty. Here's the majority of the teachings. I put out 80% of it free. Why? To get those people out of fake it to make it mode and those that actually want to do and come and get coached, come and get taught. Those are the people I want to work with. That's 20% that want to take it to the next level.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I try to say to some of the people that I speak to, Andrew, and is that, you could have a room full of people or a whole gathering full of people who don't really do inner work, who don't really have prayer, and they're turned up there in all their fancy clothes and they've got a big fire and everybody's, putting on a big show. And the amount of actual real prayer energy that's generated in there is nowhere near as much as, let's say, one person who really can't really have a fire but has a burning desire to make a certain prayer and figures out some way to have a bean can with a few sticks and really puts the power into that prayer because they wanted to have it. The prayer energy in that is 1,000 times what that other event would be, even if it was full of people. It's not the same. It's not the same frequency.
I remember you saying once, Maty, that the people who dress up to look the most spiritual to you are the least spiritual.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
I concur.
Just a good statement.
I used to go in every single crystal shop that I walked past because it made me feel spiritual because I knew what I was looking at and I knew my way around and I could feel the crystals, and it does make me laugh because I'll just walk straight past them now. I'm just looking for food. I don't even go in those places. It's like, where can I eat?
Oh God! Listen, like for the people who are into the physical products and so on, I'll give you a few examples of experiences I've had, because people ask me for business and legal advice every once in a while in the spiritual community. There is a lady who opened a metaphysical bookstore, okay? And inside that bookstore, she was supposed to be selling crystals and wands and stuff like that kind of stuff, right? And she brought in a bunch of crystals, and then she stopped bringing in the crystals, and everybody wanted crystals in that area, right? It's that kind of time where everybody's into crystals, quartz and so on. And I asked her, why did you stop bringing what your customers wanted. You want to know what the answer was? The crystals are not ethically sourced. I'm like, oh, okay. Okay. What does that mean? She says it's not ethically sourced. They probably use child labor and stuff like that. I'm like, do you know that if you're a spiritual person, anything can be cleansed?
Duh. Duh.
Like I have like when people tell me things like that, you know my face, right? Like it's hard to keep it straight. Right? People when I'm like cleansing, you smudge it, use it.
You know,
I mean,
those shoes that you're wearing are not ethically created either.
Yeah.
99% of all shoes, 99% of all shoes.
Stumble.
Or
The
you
whole
slave
slave
labor.
You need to take off the shirt, the bra, the panty. You gotta take off everything and throw it away and burn it.
Your headphone, your phone, your phone.
Stuff, you better start growing cotton in your backyard because your clothes that you're wearing came from Bangladesh. Guess who made your clothes? Kids.
Yeah.
So
It's unavoidable.
it's unavoidable. So you got to what you when you decide to take those purest stances, right? Like I'm not dealing with this. Oh, Palo Santo is a endangered tree, so I'm not going to burn any more Palo Santo. And you take these kinds of stances, and most of them are political, right? Most of them are political. When you take these kinds of stances and you bring them into your business is going to suffer, and you're going to wonder why that is. Okay? So get out of your own way. That'll be the theme for today's show. Get out of your own way and let the prosperity in. Because a lot of people tend to. This is the first thing that mistake that they make. The second mistake that they make is getting into their own mind as opposed to the customer's mind. We alluded to it before. It's like think inside what your customers want. Okay? When we were sitting down thinking about what is the topic for today's show, we thought about the topic that affected you guys. What affects you guys? And we know that money and stuff that affects you guys. We not just about like if it was up to us, what would we be talking about? We'd be talking about what? Any amount of things. Some of the stuff inappropriate as well. We'd be talking about fallacies or something.
Hey.
Tucker Carlson, politics, Ukraine, blah, 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 blah. Nothing tased. That does anything.
Parents getting tased.
Conspiracy.
We'll be talking about a bunch of stuff. But that is not what you guys want to know about. You guys want to know how to get out of your own way so that you can bring some kind of prosperity. There are spiritual people who are in the UCM community that are living in their cars.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. There's spiritual people who have serious financial issues. And it's not that we're blaming you guys, but you guys sometimes need to get out of your own way. Mm-hmm. And what that means is y'all have skill sets. Some of y'all have a lot of paper, whether it be Reiki or whatever else, and y'all don't put yourself out there. Having said that, I understand that business is like this huge mountain of unknowingness that y'all have to face. So, guys, can we break that down for them, or is that easy? Is that something that we could do in this show?
Yeah. Start with self-belief.
Correct.
Start with trusting in yourself. Start with trusting your connection to spirit. Source, great mystery, great spirit, whatever it is, and then grounding it. The whole point of us being there and being here and having that connection is to ground it in the form of teachings or healings or whatever it is that that we want to put out there. Sorry, I have a puppy on my lap.
That's so cute.
That wasn't a squeaky one, it was a puppy.
So there's a great question. There's a great question here from Shane. The problem here with blank slate is there are groups of people who take advantage of that to get away with anything, and on the other side there are people who plant a false frame in an attempt to control the free creative person. Absolutely. And the whole point of getting into creative state is to not let people manipulate or duplicate their ideas into you. You create your own frequencies, and you have to learn the discernment journey of separating those people from your growth. It's why empathy is destructive long-term versus learning.
Yeah.
It's the learning that gives you the sovereignty, if that's the road you choose to go down.
I think a lot of people are afraid of falling and failing. I want to say something here on that subject because they take it personally when they fail. Okay? No, you have to create some sort of detachment from the idea of failing at something. You're not always going to get it right. You are not always going to get it right. I remember being in Colorado and trying to do a live stream with techno gremlins everywhere. Okay? And that was like a horrible experience when we're trying to do a live stream, as an example. You're not always going to get stuff right. But the point of continuous trying, people see you trying, people see you doing better, people see you doing different things. And by the way, the spiritual community, those of us that are genuine, we are connected in a way that when you need help, somebody is always going to be there to tell you, get off your ass, I can help you with this, that, and the third. Okay? Somebody is always going to be there. I found that this works for me, but you have to get into the space of self-belief, which is what Laura said, right? And then all of a sudden, it's like the road opens up in front of you. That is a statement of fact. Okay? It is.
Well, for
And
me,
so many
that's-
people.
that's-
Sorry, Laura, go ahead.
No, you go, Maty. It's fine.
So many people believe that in order for them to truly be expressing themselves spiritually, they need a community of spiritual people around them. And anybody who's been in the spiritual community for a long time knows that it's rampant with all kinds of different problems.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the true spirituality is not, well, you know, it's getting to the core of the issues that we have. But when people don't do the inner work, what it does is it amplifies those issues. It amplifies them. People use them in their spirituality, and it becomes just this. It's not like people are full-blown narcissists. So there are many in the spiritual community because it's perfect for them to thrive. But it's like narcissistic tendencies and belief patterns, and it's rampant amongst the spiritual community. So it really, you know, when you start looking outside of yourself to these communities and to all these different places and think that, you know, one day you're going to find your tribe and then you're going to make it, it's one of the biggest roadblocks for a lot of people out there. They think they've got to be able to share, where, you know, it's the boots on the ground at your own home, what you do in your own daily routine and how much you can fit it in. Like for people who have work every day, people who have to get up and work 8-10 hours a day, you know, they've still got to do this inner work, and it's just got to have the power and the belief behind it, and then it can be powerful in a short amount of it. It can just be condensed, but it's about belief. It's about belief, and it's about how you fit it in with your daily practice. Daily practice is one of the hardest things for people to get their heads around.
I
Yeah,
see
and
a
it's
few
also
comments in
a-
the chat too. Go ahead, Laura.
There's also a co-creation. So you were saying, you know, once you have the belief and you have the trust, then the universe opens doors. Yes, but it doesn't deliver unless you step out there and do a co-creation with the universe or with whatever your belief system is. I went out and, you know, I do my daily practices and talk to Great Mystery and Great Spirit and get the connection I need to get the other doors to open. You've got to have push that magic button, which is actually you walking your talk and putting things into action, not just sitting there and waiting for it to happen because you've said prayers.
And going back to source connection and how important that is, especially in the spiritual work and doing the great work, how important it is to be source connected and have that knowingness and feeling that everything is okay. Even if you don't have as much money in the bank, having that knowingness and feeling you're not in lack, you're still source connected. And that's something I've gone through as well, having to go back and fix areas where I wasn't source connected and start bringing that back into balance as well.
When you do face those dark days, when you have the self-mastery behind you, the journey behind you, because you know what it's like. Sometimes you have an opportunity to do a whole lot, and it is sometimes a hermit kind of process. I have had those where I have gone hermit, but I've made it work for me, and I've built up lots of ceremonial and ritualistic energy. and then you go out into the world and you're backed up by that. It takes care of you. So when you get into those moments where things get dark, you feel that source connection. And if anything, sometimes it increases. Would you agree? You realize that you are there. That safe space is there all the time. You've just got to go through it with as much wisdom as you can.
And earn it.
And earn it, yeah.
I see a comment in the chat that says, well, group work is very important. Group work is important to a certain degree. If you're utilizing group work as a crutch for your self-esteem and your belief in yourself, then it is detrimental to you, okay? It is detrimental to you if it is blocking you from learning that you can do what you need to do as a standalone entity. Here's the problem that we often face as spiritual people. A lot of spiritual people, when they get into groups, feel that they have a generic idea. Like, we all operate on the same principles. It's kind of like when you go into a Christian church and everybody thinks that they're on the same page, and they really aren't on the same page. Okay? So for some people, they will think along the lines of, I want to be successful, but I only want to be as successful as to a certain extent, because once I start buying Rolls Royces, then it looks like greed. Okay? And then you'd have other spiritual people who believe, I want to be wildly successful because my success is reflective of how much effort and how much personal power that I put into my business or whatever I do. But then you'd have a third category of spiritual people who says, success is for these other people, right? We are pure, and all these people are together in one group. And so look at it not from what I just said, look at it from an energetic perspective. Can you see these energies colliding inside there? Okay, you cannot make magic in that environment when everybody's on the same place. The fundamentals of group magic are not there. Okay.
Yep. I would change that statement, David, from group work is very important to group work is very risky. That's what I would change it to, because you're not talking about therapy where people sit down in groups and explain things that they've been through, which is a completely different thing to meditations. Because anything like meditation, anything where you're focusing the energy is multidimensional. So you are connected to those other people's multidimensional perspectives. And if unless everybody's doing the inner work and has been for a decent amount of time, there is going to be something to deal with there.
Yeah, and on the flip side, of what I just said, there's a secondary risk, Maty, and that is the groupthink risk, where everybody surrenders their will to a solitary person, right, in order for the group to work. So that solitary person believes in Puff the Magic Dragon, and I'm not talking about weed here, right? Everybody believes in Puff the Magic Dragon, right? And everybody is connected to that individual. But then you have an issue where you have a pyramidal type structure, where this is not King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table, right? This is where this guy's at the head of the table and he's leading us down the garden path, but only one person really he's harnessing energy from the group, okay, for his purposes. And these are the negative side effects. I want to give people actual tools here. Let me just give some people some actual tools of discernment. If you are going to do a business, set your intent from the start, because you have to clean yourself, first of all, as Laura said, and set the intent from the start. You have to determine what your requirements are. Do you really need a group? What is it that you need? If you do need a group, then you got to make sure that the group that you find around you are people that are existing in equal co-creation with you, non-competition co-creation, people that are chilled, okay? And if that is the case, then you develop the plan after, okay? I don't know how else to say. When you're entering a group, you got to do the spiritual economics. What do you put into the group? What do you get out of the group? Supply and demand, and what the plan is. What is your plan? You guys know where you're going to be 5 years from now?
You also have to have a risk benefit analysis to the group.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's another thing. So many people are afraid of taking risk, and their risk analyzer that's inside them never lets them do anything. And then there are the other ones who have no risk analysis because they become full-blown moronic light workers. Okay. And anything that's said on any channel, they believe. Okay, Laura was spinning in place with the Pleiadian spinners 15 years ago. You know, Dale, what were you doing when you first got into your light worker stuff?
I was giving my power away to the angelic kingdom of light and got the ascended masters and all that bullshit.
Okay. How many of us have seen those people out there? Ruin groups.
Yeah.
Okay. Ruin groups.
Yep.
How many times has a Karen showed up to a ceremony and made it all about her?
Oh God. And a retreat as well. Don't forget retreat.
Yeah.
I went to a retreat in Vancouver. There was a lady, we were doing something called a dyad. A dyad is when you're in pairs and you're connecting with the individual. And one of the people in the group started howling like a wolf. Could not make that. Every retreat has one. You guys know what I'm talking about.
That's right.
Started howling like a wolf at the top of her lungs. And I'm like, well, this is a little bit disturbing. I'm trying to connect with this person, and I have she-wolf down the road howling. And everybody has to focus on that individual. And these people are going to come out, especially when they see any light happening anywhere. They're going to come out and they're going to try to access the attention and stuff like that in that kind of way, which is never a good thing.
So, David, in a business perspective, if you're going to have a business within this community, then inevitably this is the kind of issues that you're going to run into, right? So you're going to have to deal on a certain level with certain types of people in order for your business to survive at the beginning. Or would you suggest that you are more cautious with clientele?
I'm going to give you, based on my mistakes, on the mistakes that I'm going to give you a formula, okay? 90% of the people that you will meet are not serious when they want to do business. They have fear, they have a bunch of stuff going on, and they will not move forward. So you have to compensate for that. So what you do is you make sure when you are dealing with people, you have a period of time where the individual chooses to operate or not. You have to gauge whether they're willing to move forward. If they're not willing to move forward, then that's an issue. Okay. The secondary thing that I would suggest when you're dealing with people, especially from a clientele perspective, not all clients that you meet are going to be good for your business. You guys know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Right? And you have to learn that, okay, I'm not making much money. I only have 4 clients this week, but this client, a client has shown up, and that client is going to be problematic for your business. Let that client go. Because you know intrinsically, trust your intuition and let that client go.
Yeah, it's the same concept as there are sometimes, like, you know, like finding a wallet on the street, you know, like there'd be not a question in my mind that money is not going to make its way back to that wallet's owner. That is what's going to happen as soon as I find that wallet, because I just know there would be no point in taking that money. There would be consequences, there would be energy exchange, and it's stuff that I just don't want. And it's the same with the clients, I guess, is that there are some times when you look and you just think there's never going to be a balance here, you know, so this is always going to be taking energy from me.
Here's the thing. When you're holding open events, like Dale has open events, which means people can sign up, right?
Yeah.
I want to give you guys some advice here, right? Not Dale specifically, because we've talked about this before. Have some sort of screening set up, the basic of screening. You don't have to, it's not a discriminating screening. Have some sort of screening set up, right? And what I mean screening is that you have a situation where somebody has to fill out a form, an intake form, before they participate in what you're doing, right? Structure your form in such a way that if that person is, I don't want to have to use these words because they're stigmatized. If that person is crazy, as an example, it will show up on the form and give you pre-warning that this is happening. Does that make sense? And then you could choose not to have that person participate in your ceremony or whatever it is that you're doing, because it's going to mess up your group dynamics in a way that is irreparable, and it's not good for the rest of your clients in the long run. So what I do is that I have an online form. I have an intake form that's online. Okay, you could use Jot forms for this. It's free. Okay, have these people sign up, ask them questions. So, how long have you been in spirituality? Ask them questions such as, oh, what do you want to, what exactly do you want to take away from this event? And then it will show up. And then oh, no. If somebody writes in your form, I want to battle, I want to harness and capture all the demons in the event, and I want to use them for my own purposes by binding them to myself.
Yeah.
That may not be the person that you want to add to your.
No.
I'm just gonna say, right?
If you put a section at the end, David, where you put on it, like an extra section, say like anything else you want to say to us, and they filled that page, even if it was just life story or anything, if that page was filled, then you'd know this person's probably going to cause a problem.
It is, so you have a screening. Don't make the same mistakes that were made by myself, right? I've seen mistakes made in the spiritual community. Have a screening, some sort of screening set up so that when people come into your practice, into your event, then you know what's coming. You absolutely do. The other thing that I would highly suggest as not making a mistake is another thing that you should do to not make any mistakes is like create a situation where you have a consult. So it's a different kind of screening. So here's I have a consult. You have a video meeting with the individual. Does that make sense? And on the video meeting, you get to know the individual or whatever the case may be, because not all clients and all customers are going to be okay for your business. It absolutely is. And you have to decide what it is that you want. So take control of your practice and take control of whatever business that you're running before it runs out of control of you. Does that make sense?
And for those people who don't know what their business is, because that's a fundamental character flaw in so many spiritual people who want to start a spiritual business, they don't know what their business is, won't put the time, effort, or energy in to discover their business because they only know how to meditate. They only know how to spray sage. They only know how to do those material things of spiritual manifestation that don't give them the greater benefit of understanding what being a business person in this community means. Whether you're a healer, you're a thinker, you're a mathematician, whatever it is that you're going to be, you got to know your business. And unfortunately, so many people don't want to do that work. And it comes back to curiosity learning. It comes back to YouTube PhDs. It comes back to looking for the easy button to get through it. As long as you're looking for the easy button, you're a fake it to make it person. Period. And one of the statements that so many people have had a hard time with me, if you're not journaling your spiritual experience, you're faking it. Why is that such a hard thing for people to understand? It's because they have to look at themselves. They have to write about their journey, and they have to go back and look at what they just did over a period of weeks and get a real judge of their journey instead of the fake judge of what the mind tells them and the ego tells them. And then these fake it to make it people start fake businesses. They become coaches who give people fake information. And then I get people coming to me going, well, my coach told me I have demons. So your business coach told you have demons. And then you go to look at that coach's website, and all they're talking about on their Facebook page is baby raping lizard wizards, or Save the Children, or QAnon, or this or that. Anybody who's in the coaching community and has social justice, social material, baby raping lizard wizards, don't be coaches to them. They cannot separate their home belief from their business belief.
That is a very good point you just made there, Andrew. People go and become customers of these coaches, and whatever problems or barriers that they had before get multiplied by 10. And they end up coming to one of us because they figure that this is something that is that they need to deal with, and you're like, no, it's actually very simple. It's just like this, just like this. You just need to do X, Y, and Z, right? But then these coaches put a bunch of crap in there. And Andrew, that's a very good point. I want to say something to the guys who are in the chat. The spiritual community, and we've said this on several broadcasts already since I've been coming on this show with these guys, it's being hijacked by a bunch of political nonsense. If you are going to a leader or you're setting up a business based on this concept of whatever social justice or whatever the case may be, and you're into this politics things, don't be in business. It's a dumb idea. If you're going to do the political thing, do the political thing. Don't mix it with the spirituality thing. Because I'm going to tell you something that is going to be a hard truth, and call this a truth bomb. A large part of your ideas of what inverted commas wokeness is going against natural law. It absolutely is. Mm-hmm. A large majority of the ideas that you have printed on your websites. And this, remember when we did that webinar, I asked people, show me your websites. Show me your websites. Let's see what you have written there. Because you're supposed to be thinking in the minds of your client, not about how you feel or how you think, right? So a large part of this wokeness goes against natural law. So people try to bend, right? Try to bend natural law. And I'm going to tell you guys something, because you guys are going to be in business. In the future, you are going to be running up into a problem whereby you're going to be asked to compromise your belief system for the sake of the social nonsense that's going on, the left-right nonsense that's going on. You are going to be asked to do that. And I want to see how many of you out there will stand by your principles that's on your website, right? And stick by that thing. You're going to be asked to go against things that bend natural law. You're going to be asked to go along with these things. And I'm saying to you guys, it's not worth it when you compromise your principles, when you write a bunch of crap on your websites that you're okay with this and you're up with this and you're one with this and so on. At the end of the day, you're going to turn off more people than you're going to attract. That is a statement of fact. And I want you guys to hear me. If you don't listen to anything on the show, listen to this part. Stand by your principles, put yourself out there, and become the business person and the therapist and the clinician and the leader that you are meant to be. Believe in yourself.
And don't surrender your sovereignty to all those distractions, because ultimately, David, they're distractions.
Correct. They're just distractions. a lot of people are going to be running up against those things. So I think that when you're dealing with people, and when you're dealing with people in communities, as an example, when you're dealing with people in communities, as an example, and you want to put forward this idea that you're in business and so on, keep it clean, keep it neutral. Keep it clean, keep it neutral, and do what you're supposed to be doing. You're supposed to be helping people. Don't indoctrinate them. We're not evangelicals. You may believe that the amethyst in your office is from the prime creator and it was sent there by whatever, right? Keep it to yourself. Leave people, when they come into you, leave them, deal with the problem that they have, and let them go about their business. They're going to say, I went to XYZ, that person really listened to me. They didn't tell me how they feel about what's going on with me. The basics of counseling apply here, okay? Because a lot of people have the therapy skills, the esoteric skills, but they have no people skills whatsoever.
Yes.
They have
Yes.
no people skills at all. And so that's a very important thing when you're dealing with people. Have the people skills to say, listen to what people are saying to you and deal with their problem from where they are. Always client focused, not you focused.
Yes.
Ego in the dustbin. Well, not totally the dustbin, you know what I mean, right? And deal with what people are saying to you. And then you are providing a service. Other than that, I honestly, and then you will be successful. That's a formula for success. Authenticity, client focus, belief in yourself. These are the things that we just covered, right? But then there's another aspect, and I'm going to let you guys get in here because we have to talk about when you're dealing in the competition with the market, with other therapists and so on. But I'm going to, I don't know what you guys have to say about that.
Well, that leads on to one thing, which is niche. A niche is so important because you've got to be able to have something that you are very good at, or something that's just right for you. Some sort of niche. When you were speaking earlier on about business, I was reminded of an indoor market in the town where I grew up, and there was we're talking sort of the early 2000s, around about this sort of time, late 90s, and there was a store in there that was like a crystal shop, that kind of thing. It was very small, but they sold papers and things for, like, smoking joints, large papers, and this was way before that they were everywhere. And people kept turning up at this little shop to buy these papers more than bought the crystals. So they bought some extra stuff and some more and some more. And then, even though they didn't really like that side of the business, it grew into its own half of the business where they were flourishing. And that, in the whole indoor market, that place was constantly busy. It started from a small crystal shop, but they noticed that people wanted Rizzlers quite a lot. So they expanded and put more out, and grew it into its own separate business. It was profitable. And this is the thing, isn't it? You find a niche, you must exploit it. And I use the word exploit in a positive sense.
Now you see, look at how naturally that evolved, right? They didn't say, well, that's associated with marijuana, but our spiritual principles stop us from selling the paper.
Exactly.
All of these joints, right? They did what they had to do to survive, honestly.
They thrived.
Hey, Adeline, I see you've entered the chat, so I'm going to give you a shout out. Anyway, so they did what they had to do to survive, okay? And that's what you guys are talking about. Getting into this niche, Maddie. A lot of people don't know what niche they're in. Okay, so like if you see, I didn't want to have to do this. If you look at certain people's websites, you don't know, like, what is this person on? Like, I don't know what they're doing. Are they selling crystals? Are they banishing demons? Or are they the Reiki practitioners? I don't understand what's going on here. When you overload, I want to talk about people's websites and their client, what's client facing. When you're building a website, I'm going to give you guys some advice, guys, because data science is my thing and the technical stuff is my thing. When you're building a website, make sure that the message that you're putting out is very, very clear. Okay? Don't let them don't let the people who are going to give you business be confused as hell. We don't know what you're doing, but we're going to pay you $500 to do whatever it is that you're doing, because all of it sounds good, but we don't know what to pick. Keep it very clear. I am a therapist. I deal with people with this kind of problem and that kind of problem, right? Don't just put everything. I'm a Reiki practitioner. I do yoga. I can teach you meditation. Shit, I do revocations as well. And you know what? I read the Akashic records as well, and I do all that. When you go to Andrew's website and you hear Galactic Historian, what do you see there? You see one main thing, right? You know what he does. You know what Dale does. You know what Laura and Maty do. Okay, I'm a bit confused myself, so don't.
I've seen that, David, where you've gone down someone's website and it's just information after information. And you're going down and you're like, right, I'm going to stop here and just get off this website. There's like literally, they've got loads of pages, and when you go on one page, it's just writing, just constant writing going all the way down, and you're just like, yeah, you've lost me here.
It's overload, isn't it? You're on overload.
It's not. It's also overwhelm. Okay,
overwhelm, yeah.
And so, like, when you're doing a website, and some people go on the opposite side of the equation, make it very succinct, leave a lot of white space on your website, because what's on your website reflects what's going on in their minds.
Yes.
Okay? So you got to leave space between stuff. So on the client side, when they look at the website, they say, okay, this is what this person does. This is what I want, click. Okay?
Yeah.
It also works in the opposite way, because you avoid the people that you don't want to click your calendar. Okay? All right. So when you're doing that, I suggest you have some sort of screening on your website itself. I'm going to give you a few examples. Use jot forms. You just drop it on your website. It's an embeddable form. I would like to, one of these days, I got to teach you guys how to do all of this stuff, right? Click, so that you don't have to pay somebody thousands of dollars to do it for you. Okay, but I'm going to give you the advice that you're going to have to pay for right here on this show. Use jot forms. It's free, right? If you want a storage unit, use Dropbox or Google Drive. It's free. Okay, you have no excuses as to what's keeping you back after this show. No, right? If you want Microsoft Office and you don't have it on your computer, right? Google Docs is free. Google Presentation is free. Google Sheets is free, right? So you got Excel. You have everything that you need is free to start. You absolutely is, right? Right. If you want more advanced tools, wait until you start making money in. And by the way, just so that we're clear, for those of you who say, well, I don't have a website, WordPress offers free websites. Yeah, for real. So you have a one-page website. It's not going to be very fancy, but it's somewhere to start. For those of you who are thinking that I don't have this, I don't have that, I'm going to now kill all of that I don't have arguments inside of you. WordPress, go to wordpress.com. You will build yourself a website. On that website, it will state exactly what you have to do. You need to get yourself a picture, and I'm sure most of you all have phones. The fact that you all are listening to this right now means you have some kind of device. So go to the camera, take yourself a picture, nicely dressed or whatever, right? Get the picture, put it on the website, say, I do this. Okay? So now you have a website. It wouldn't be some fancy domain like I don't know, like All Healing. What is a good name? In a domain, actually.
ihealeverything.com.
ihealeverything.com, right? So you don't have to get the domain right away and stuff like that. So once you have that set up, you get yourself a Google Drive. You make whatever little products for that you want to make, whether it be guided meditations and stuff like that. Make your products, put it inside there. Okay, they don't have to be the highest quality products. They just have to come from your heart. Okay, they have to come from your heart. You will get all fancy with yourself afterwards. Don't expect to come directly into business and just put out the highest quality stuff that there is. It's a learning process.
Yeah. Every single skill that we've ever learned in our lives, everything we've ever done, we've been a beginner at it, then we've practiced and we've learned, and then some things we master. And you can never expect that when you do something for the first time, you're going to get it spot on. As a matter of fact, you can pretty much assume that whatever process you use straight away initially for anything is going to evolve and change. That's a fact. So you've just got to get the ball rolling. You can't be waiting for the perfect moment. You've just got to do whatever you can do with whatever resources you have and get that ball rolling, because you will learn to improve on it, because you've already manifested it. You've brought it into creation.
And
The next thing is to have a plan. I wish we had a download section on this thing. I would go into my drive right now and give you guys a business plan. Actually, you know what? I'm going to send it to you guys. It's a business plan template. You could put it as a download underneath there and give these people a business plan template, right? Get yourself a business plan template and jot what you're going to do moving forward, piece by piece, based on the money. Oh, by the way, if you have the argument that I don't have money, I just told you a whole bunch of resources that are free. Let me give you some more that are free to use, okay? In terms of browser-based resources that are free, jot forms. You're going to need it to get in to create intake forms for your events and for whatever, free, okay? There is the Google Drive, Dropbox. These are storage devices in terms of pictures and stuff like that. I want stock media for my thing. Pexels.com, Pexels. Yeah, did I spell that right? .com. Go there. The pictures are free. Okay, they're very cool pictures. You don't need to have the best high quality pictures. They are free. Join it, download it. Okay, Pexels.com. What else are you gonna need? Actually, you guys interact with me.
What about
David, right
you've got free like YouTube and stuff, you know, if you want to, you'll have to set up like a show or having your face in the public image. You've got YouTube and all these platforms where you can stream for free as well.
Correct.
Restream is
free.
free, basic one, isn't it, Dale? Basic Restream's free.
Restream, yeah, the basic one. Zoom's free, the basic, but I think you'd have to pay like £8 or $8 or whatever.
The limitations on Zoom is like it's 40 minutes per meeting, right? But if you're starting off, you might want to use it like half an hour things. Guys, pick our brains right now while you're here.
Mm-hmm. So there's a site called Unsplash as well, and this is images that you can use however you wish, but there's some really beautiful imagery in there, some really high quality images as well. And then you've got Canva, which is used for creating adverts, things like that. Canva has all social media, different types of social media posts and video creations with lots of free templates in there, and then some free effects. There's Clipchamp, which is given out now with most PCs, in which you can create any form of video and then put backing track to it. There's some free doors as well, things like what's this one that you guys put me onto? Audacity. So really, honestly, just on one simple laptop, you could run a whole business. It's just about having the plan and learning a new language. That's the thing that I found with it. It was like learning to speak another new language. But you do eventually get there in the end.
For the Canva, Matty, it's very like caveman. It's so easy to work around.
Yes.
It basically gives you the templates for a Facebook post, an Instagram post, all the different areas. You just click and it's so straightforward. So if you go into canva.com, create an account, you can basically have something set up where you can actually create Facebook posts, Instagram posts, and it's so easy to do.
And so you just export that. You just click the export, and you can decide which quality you want, and it comes straight into your computer. So there's many of these types of platforms where, in order to get to that point where you transfer it from the program onto your computer, you have to pay. But there are some really good quality sites out there where you just don't need to do that at all.
Okay, so Adeline has video editing. What's a good video editing software for someone who doesn't know shit about video editing? Okay, Adeline.
Loom?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was going to say Clipchamp is the one that I learned on. Super easy.
Go ahead, try it. Send us a difficult question. Next difficult question, please. This will be fun. RTF. for those of you who are trying to set up a business but don't understand how to incorporate the legal side of it, as an example, would you like some advice? Okay, so if you're just starting and you have a budget restriction, then just go for the sole proprietorship. It basically means, for those of you who don't know, that the business is you and you are that business. Okay, so in terms of what it means for you, it means that the business is tied to your name, so to speak. So you are responsible for the liabilities of that business. There is no protection in that situation, which means that when somebody sues your business, they're suing you. Okay? Partnerships are very important and very useful. It basically shares the liability between one or two or more people, and as a result of that, when you register as a partnership, the benefit is that it shares the liability and the equity. The amount of money that you put in means that other people put money in to the business, and y'all could probably, I don't know, rent an office and stuff like that and work out of the office. That's a partnership. Okay. In terms of limited liability company, which is different in the US, y'all have something called LLCs. And I'm going to give advice for all regions. In England, go for the limited liability company. Definitely. Why? Because your business is separate from you. It's a different entity, which means that when people are interacting with your business, if they sue your business, they sue the business and everything that it owns, and all your possessions are still yours. Does that make sense? When the business goes bankrupt, it's an entity. It's like another person. Okay. And so go for the limited liability. In the US, for those of you who are looking for advice, you are going to be running into something called an LLC. Whether it be, they're going to ask you to choose between an S Corp and a C Corp. Okay? What a C Corporation is that your salary, your salary is taxable. You get double taxed, basically. You're going to get taxed by the corporation. You're going to get taxed by the by your salary as well, right? An S corporation, the corporation gets taxed, right, and the salaries that come out of it get taxed as well. So it's more singular thing. So whenever people ask me, so I don't know whether it's S corp or C corp, go for the S corp, absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, right? There are benefits to a C corp, but let me tell you, in the US, you have additional options such as creating a 501 3C company, which is basically a charity, but it's actually, which means that you avoid a whole bunch of stress. Let me tell you, charities are the thing. I'm telling you, I'm thinking about making my own charity, right? You avoid a whole bunch of taxes, and then you could pay yourself a stipend. But the problem with a charity is if you pay yourself like about 10 grand a month, that's a problem, because that's not a charity anymore. That's a business, right? You can't sell anything as a charity. You have to give it away, but you pay yourself a charity. You could do like events, like promotional events, right? But you also have to give your money to other people. So for a lot of spiritual people with purist beliefs, and the people that I'm talking to, that you know yourself, right? You know who you are. With purist beliefs, definitely go for the charity, because you get to help the community, you get to pay yourself a small stipend and stay poorish, right? But you'll still survive, and it's the best of both worlds as well, and you avoid taxes. Yay! Right? And then there's the 508(c). There's a 508 company, which is a church. You could establish a church. Yay! What is better than a church? I look, I'm definitely thinking about establishing a church. And Laura, since you're doing like prayer meetings
The
on
Church of
Sunday,
David.
right? So you're gonna
Holy Church of David.
I'm
With
definitely
Laura
thinking
Sunday
about establishing a church. In a church scenario, these bitches pay nothing, okay? They pay nothing, right? They don't, even when they buy property, they don't pay that huge tax on property. The pastor or the church leader or whoever it is, gets paid his money, he doesn't even get taxed as much. I'm like, what the hell? Like, why isn't everybody popping up churches everywhere? Well, they are actually, right? And the thing about it is that the church can you can collect donations from people. You don't even have to work. You just have to do
Isn't
the
there a
Dr. Feel-Good thing.
church where they get a percentage of your money? I don't want to say it on here because we would probably get banned, but there's a church where you give, I think it's like 20% of your wage goes to the church.
Is that those ones that are, witnessing certain things?
I think so. No, it's a more.
Right, okay. It's more than something.
Yeah.
Thank you for giving that away there, Dale.
But no disrespect in any way. But yeah, I can see where the money how you can avoid a lot of things from owning stuff like that.
So now there's now once you establish a church, you can pay yourself money. It's wonderful. You can pay yourself like all different kinds of money. Okay. And you could pay money for the church because the church is going to pay for your house, and therefore you cannot tax the house that the church that paid for because you can't. It's wonderful. I don't understand it. We are all making churches. That's our plan. That's our plan,
David.
right? We're all
Saint
making
David.
churches.
We'll make you into a saint. Saint David.
So for those of you who are want to teach more into teachings and stuff like that, you can make a church. I've been trying to get Andrew to establish a damn church ever since. Okay, like that is life on easy street. The problem with the church is that you have to act like a church, which means you have to have services and you have to interact with the community. And your church cannot discriminate to walk in the door.
Anybody can walk in the door.
Anybody can walk in the door. And if you're doing a church, you have to establish doing good works in the community. I know several pastors and priests because I studied theology. Let's not get into it. That's how I know about the church thing. Let's leave it alone. Leave it alone, guys. right. So, right. And so I know several of them that will age you quickly. Okay. So decide whether or not it's worth it, and then move forward with the church idea. But you guys get an idea in terms of registration, what you can do. These are your options. For those of you who didn't understand what I said, this show is being recorded, so you could go back and go through it. So once you have your registration done, some of you are going to use sole proprietorship. If you're on a budget, once again, partnership shares the liability, right? And limited liability means that your assets, all your stuff, like your crystals and stuff, are protected. Nobody can come and take them away. There is that. So you're set up. You started your business. You have your WordPress site, WordPress.com site. It's free. You got your pictures from Pexels. You started. You created your website, and you started your business, and you're moving right along. When you get out there into the market and you're showing yourself as authentic and stuff like that, you're using YouTube Studio to put your stuff out there, and you started your YouTube channel, and you started this and whatever else. People can see what you are doing. Okay. Now, I don't know how deep the show. I don't want to get too deep into the weeds of the show. But once you put yourself out there, you're going to understand that you're in a marketplace with other people who are doing probably the same things you are. So you have to differentiate yourself from that individual, right? So
And then
go ahead, Maty.
And then you've got all the social media platforms trying to roadblock you at every twist and turn along your journey.
No, I got them, Maty. I have solutions for everything I came. Right? I came prepared for this. When you put your stuff out there, there are going to be people who are doing the same thing that you're doing. First of all, I'm dropping let me see if that link actually works. Give me a second before you drop it, guys. Link is valid. Yes, so that is a link to a business plan guide. I just dropped it inside the chat. I'm going to just check and see if I came prepared. Right? I'm going to see if it works. And Joel, what you can do is drop it inside the chat, and these people will have access to a business plan guide. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Okay, so when you are out there, you need to differentiate yourself. So the things that make Maty and Laura differentiated from other shamanic principles, I think that was the wrong link. Uh, no,
Yeah,
I
it
got,
was. It was a revocation.
yeah, okay, but they could have that as well because it was going to be a handout anyway. And in one of these webinars, what is this for?
Can I answer the question in the chat that Joyful's just come up with?
What's that?
Of course, please
When
do.
did you guys know you were ready to offer your skills as a service? I'll tell you what, Joyful, when I couldn't stop talking about it, and really I was boring all my friends because I just wanted to speak and speak and speak, and then I realised I really need to go out there and teach and do the other things that I do. It's when I became overflowing with it, and I practiced sort of initially on friends and family with some treatments that I did and so on, and then I just it was just an overflowing of it was a real feeling inside that I really just needed more of a platform than I had with friends and family. That wasn't enough, and that's when I felt I was ready to do it. Dale, Maty?
So go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. So for me, when I felt like I was ready to offer my skills and service, I'd say when I did enough training and enough work on myself to want to give it. But to be honest with you, being truthful about the start of my journey, I felt like I wasn't authentic. In 2013, I learned a lot of Reiki, I learned a lot of different things. But for me, when I knew I was ready, I think for me personally, I always wanted to do it. I always wanted to teach. I always wanted to heal. But I had to learn that I don't want to save people. And that was a big realization I went through on my own healing journey, that I'm not doing it to save others. I'm doing it to help others if they want to help themselves. And there was a big ego death for me in that journey itself. So I think when that knowingness is there, when you want to offer it, and if you want to do it and your heart says I want to do it, then do it. Then there'll be a lot of programs you'll have to deal with which come along with that. And same for me with obviously bigger audiences and having more clients, it comes with responsibility as well. So when you go ahead and you say, universe, I'm ready to do it, take the next step, but just understand that that's just the first part, and you have to learn endurance. And that's something I was going to ask about and talk about, is what's advice for endurance, David, for someone who's, say, done it for like a year and a half, and they've not got enough and as many clients and so on. Let's talk about endurance and how important that is, because I see a lot of people come into this game, they be a practitioner for like 5-6 months, then all of a sudden they just give up and you don't see them again. So what are some of the things, or what people in this panel can talk about to elevate people to keep going?
Well, in terms of endurance, a lot of people drop out of the game primarily because they don't have a plan. They don't have step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. As you guys were talking, I was uploading stuff, okay? Because I tend to get the same questions over and over again. Get shareable link and copy the link, create link. Okay, and so they don't have a plan. Let me explain to you why a plan is important. A business plan is important because at step 1, if things don't go your way, you're going to be discouraged and give up. Okay, but if you have a second step that's in the way, you just keep going down that line. A lot of people get discouraged a lot of the time, primarily because things are not going their way. They're not getting clients. They're not getting a lot of they're not getting a lot of um, traction on any of the things that they do. And I want to say to you guys that you must have a plan that has different deviations from the same plan. Okay. So let's say you are a shaman and you've set up your business. Give me a name of a shaman company.
The
Uh,
Four Winds.
okay, so you're setting up the Four Winds. You are differentiating yourself from the rest of the shamans out there. And I shouldn't be giving advice for shamans. Let's use a different business. Let's say you're doing the Four Winds and you're doing a Reiki, because that would be a conflict of interest here on the show, right? So let's say you're doing the Reiki, the Reiki experience, the Four Winds Reiki experience. You need to differentiate yourself away from the people who are doing Reiki in the market. So I see a lot of different Reiki coming. There's animal Reiki, dragon Reiki, angelic Reiki. There's a whole bunch of other Reiki, Karuna Kai Reiki, and so on. Right? This is attempts at people to differentiate themselves from people. A lot of you have a million certifications. Those certifications by themselves may be fairly useless. If you just open up a practice that says, I'm doing Reiki, you are probably not going to have as much success as if you open a practice saying you're doing psychotherapeutic Reiki healing. Okay? Because it's something different, it is differentiated, and as a result of that, you are going to have more traction. And when you don't get the traction that you want, people drop out. And the strategy that you use for that is as follows. Like the business that Maty was talking about, always have a side hustle. Okay, if you're doing Four Winds psychotherapeutic Reiki, sell some Rizzlers. Rizzlers is what you're talking about, like cannabis rolling paper, right? Treated paper, right? Have a side hustle. Sell the meditations. Sell a course on it. These are the kinds of things that you need to do. The side hustle will keep you in business long enough to gain a clientele. And your side hustle always helps your business. Because let me tell you, people may not want the crystals, but they run it up inside there to get that paper, right? Because you know the paper's going to sell. I need paper to roll my weed. Okay, so I'm running up inside that store. And while I'm inside there, I'm like, oh, that's really pretty. What is that? It's a selenite rod. Oh, I don't care what it's used for. It's just pretty. I'm buying it. Okay, keeps you in business. It keeps you in business. And a lot of that's what I mean by having a plan. You have your main hustle, your side hustle, all right? And you have many different kinds of side hustles that you can proliferate. Because what's in your head, 99% of the world's population do not have it in their head. Listen to me what I'm saying to you guys, huh? For those of you who are listening to this show, who went through the Reiki training, who went through all of these kinds of trainings and so on, what's inside your head, 99% of the world's population do not have it in their heads. They don't have the skill set. So when you are beating up on yourself and saying, I'm a failure, I should get out of this business and do something else, put that into your algorithm. Put it into your algorithm and realize that you are unique to the point where people don't have your information, would like to have your information. It might help their lives. And you quitting is depriving them of that. Because what's going to happen is when you decide that you're going into your corporate environment or you're getting a job in the bank as a teller, 20 years down the line, you're going to run into people who are going to say, boy, I really could have used your advice 20 years ago at a dinner or something like that. Okay? So these are the things that you have to take into consideration. And the other thing that people drop out of is because they do not see improvement. It's not a matter of whether you see improvement or not. It's a matter of whether you improve or not. So when you get your client, add another service, add another service, add it, add the upsells. Upsells are when you come in for the Reiki treatment, but you could get a Reiki treatment and a selenite rod. And
and some
Rizzlers. Okay? For a different price. That's an upsell. This is business sense. that they upsell. I have seen too many people online who I know what their backgrounds are. I know their backgrounds, Maddie. I know their backgrounds, and I'm telling you, right? These people can offer so much, but it's like, well, I do healing, and that's what I do. I do healing.
And this is where it leads back into the spiritual side of things. It comes to that inner work, because you're talking about people, and let's say they do Reiki, and you're saying what differentiates you between the other people. And if you really practice, really practice. I mean, the things that I do, I practiced until I mastered, and I know that there's no way that I can truly express it to anybody at the moment, really. But what you can do is you use that frequency to people, and you give them as much as they need.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're able to work on that source connection, practice daily, really master the crafts that you have, then you will have that unique product. You will have that something that people need. And then you couple that with good marketing and everything that you've said, and that's a recipe for success. It's just whether you have the discipline and commitment to stick with it.
Well, that's
I want to address a comment in the chat. There's nothing new among the so-called psychic community. That would be a lack of creativity. Don't think that you can. There's no limit to the amount of variations that there are. Everything inside any community, it doesn't matter whether it's the spiritual community, the business community, it's like a Rubik's cube of combinations. Okay, you're gonna keep turning and turning that cube, and you will still be not run out of possibilities, as an example. So I challenge you to challenge me at this point. Please challenge me. Throw out any niche out there, and on the spot, I will absolutely create a business out of it. I don't care what it is. I am challenging the whole of YouTube at this point, the whole of Rumble. Throw out anything at me. Let me show you what creativity looks like when it is that your mind is in the business aspect. Go ahead. I'll wait.
And while we wait, there's something I was thinking about as well is, say, like all these people, say if you learn crystal healing or angelic healing or Reiki, and like Maty says and David said before, you've got to market yourself in such a different way. So you're not just like, if you Google angelic Reiki healer, crystal healer, there's about hundreds of the same things just going down and down and down. And you have to get, how am I going to look different to everyone? How am I going to stand out? That's one of the most important things about innovating and creating yourself, is how can I be different from anybody, but not in a competition way, but valuing myself because I love myself truly. And this is incredible. Obviously, David, Laura, Maty, Andrew, is we all want to help each other as well. And having those people around you who elevate you, who want you to succeed, who are not jealous and so on. So there is a way out of it. It's just having the spiritual locomotion, so to say.
Yeah.
And the right teachings.
Yeah. And don't be scared of moving across different platforms either, because we've tried all sorts. I think we've been to locals. We're now on Rumble. But you have to go and look at as many different platforms as you can to get it out there.
Not a challenge. I see a challenge in the chat. Yes, okay. Finally. Show business, production, theater, dance. My dear, what is it about dance that doesn't lend itself to spirituality? Want to know what the spiritual community is missing? Fun. Thank you, Annabella. I'm on it. I'm all over it. You want to know what the spiritual community is missing? It's missing fun. Okay, we lack fun. Some of us are way too serious with ourselves. You have heard of ecstatic dance, I'm sure, right? You've heard of art and consciousness. I now present to you, dance your demons away. The expressive dance movement that is core-centered to the archetypal movements and forms that are natural within your mind. Okay? I now present to you, dance your demons away. Dance until you are free. Okay? Dance the dance of Shiva at the confluence.
Only $19.99. Buy one now, get your second product free.
And I'll present to you, dance the demons away. I think I like this already. Wait, I got the music for it, right? You're going to use an ecstatic dance type situation, but you're going to move them through the different levels, right? You're going to start with something like happy, like, yeah, exactly, right? Dance the demons away. And so I just gave you a business idea. Okay, let's develop that for a second. Okay, dance the demons away is a event-based movement form specific for spiritual people that teaches them how to move and express themselves in such a way that whatever programs that are running them, they now control the programs in movement and in form and so on. It is expressive, it lets it out. So at the first stage, you learn to let your pain, you become one with your pain and you move with the pain. At the second level, at the second tier, right, you learn to harmonize the pain in such a way that you are in control. You are dancing the other. You're dancing them out of existence. Like Shiva, back in the day, you know, when he's destroying the world, this is the dance of destruction, but it's not destruction for you. It's destruction for the demons and programs that run you. You feel me, my sister? I like it already. I like it already. Annabelle, you're going to do this thing. No, it's not like ecstatic dance. You're differentiating yourself because ecstatic dance is about freer movement, and that's the first tier. What you're talking about is the first tier. We're talking about the second tier, which is learning to move in ways that allow spirit to come forward. What does spirit feel like? What does the you inside, the child in you, feel like? Does it feel like jumping? Does it feel like letting it out? Right? And you're going to learn to express that in such a way. So I would suggest to you, right?
Dance those demons away. Dance those demons away.
Because I'll tell you
something. Great product, David. Great product, David.
I'll tell you something, right? There are a lot of people who are too stiff in their spirituality that need to loosen to frig up.
Yep. Right? Imagine the merch for it. It's a bunch of demons under your feet getting trampled by dancers.
Right, and
okay.
you put that out there. That's a product right there. You dance the demons away, right? Or you could name it something else. But what I'm thinking in terms of how you present this to the world is that you differentiate it from ecstatic dance by moving them through different psychological profiles. And what I mean by that is you're going to start with the happy movement, formless kind of dance, and then you start moving them through the profiles, the darker shades of things, like as an example, lust mode. For those of you who don't know who lust mode is, never mind. Clams Casino, does anybody? Please type in Clams Casino into YouTube and type in crystals. Clams Casino crystals. Play and enjoy and get off of the chair where you are and dance that shit away. Dance it away.
Dance those demons away. Demons be under my foot.
Anybody else?
What about an angry dance?
As a
mosh pit.
Right. You guys get the general idea?
Yes.
We differentiated, we made a business, and we appealed to somebody, to a particular community. Who is Dance the Demons Away for? Dance the Demons Away is for people who are stuck in their spirituality, who feel stuck. Because that's what not dancing is. Not movement is stuckness. Okay?
Yep.
So, yeah. And Maddie and Laura will provide the vocals and the music.
All right, everybody, let's call it an end of the show here with the titling. Next thing we're going to be create this product. We're going to actually, I think, create Dance the Demons Away. I think that would be a really great product for people out there to get up off their feet. All right, David, give a way for people to get a hold of you.
All right, guys, we're running a webinar magical workshop, so you guys can sign up for it. We have a book of spells that's also on sale. You guys can contact me at info@universalcitizentv.com or Unified Health System, info@unifiedhealthsystems.com. Yeah, the challenge is still open. We dropped a link for you guys to create a business plan, a business starter guide. Check it out. Other than that, I'll say to you guys.
Go ahead, Maddie, give it away for people to get a hold of you.
Okay, so you can get me at twofeathersmedicine.com. You just go to my page. There's a link where you can book private sessions with me. I do healings and psychic surgery, and psychic readings, things like that, or a combination of them all, to be honest. I also have some light language products there. There's some short products that are kind of like activations and healings for things like PMS. What others are there? Oh my goodness, I've gone brain wiped. Anyway, there's loads of different ones on there. There's also a course that I've written, which is just a small course, but it's for anyone who's interested in speaking light language and wants to start. So it's the basic light language learning course. So yeah, head on to twofeathersmedicine.com and click on my page.
Laura, give it away for people to get a hold of you.
Yeah, I'm also at Two Feathers Medicine. I can do one-to-one sessions on shamanic skills training, ancestral healing, anything you like really related to that. And I will be back on Sunday with our regular slot for the Sunday prayer service, because we now seem to have a church there, David, too.
Church of
I'm
David.
ready for it.
Yes.
I'm picking collection.
Yes. Dale, give it away for people to get a hold of you.
So if you'd like any psychic surgery sessions and to experience my many hands, go on to daletobin.com. I'm also offering psychic surgery training for those who'd like to learn it for themselves or become a practitioner. I also offer past life training as well. So head over to daletobin.com. And yeah, what a great show. Thank you.
And you know who I am. You can go back to my website, andrewbartzis.com, and we have a variety of things for you to do to dance your demons away.
Clams Casino. Crystal.
Okay?
Type it in.
Clams, casinos, and crystals. All right, we will be back. We will be back tomorrow for the comedy show with Monty Dean and featuring returning Sean David Morton. All right, everybody, we'll catch you tomorrow for our comedy show and game stream afterwards. Take us away, Joel.
No, mother Hobos.
Healing comes in many forms, all the colors aligned. You are free as a dove when you choose, a sovereign state of being.
And allow this product to work with the 7 color chakras in our own energy system.
Meditations can trigger DNA wisdom and memories in light, out-creating our limited chemical memories. So sit back, relax, as we take you on a journey of light and colour.